I stood frozen outside room 314, my hand trembling as I held the hotel key card. My heart was pounding so hard I thought it might burst through my chest. Behind that door, I could hear noises, strange, muffled sounds that made my stomach twist into knots. Thump, thump, thump. It was rhythmic, constant. And then I heard it, a voice, a man's voice, coming from inside my wife's hotel room. Sarah, the voice said, deep and unfamiliar. My world started spinning. The flowers I had bought at the airport slipped from my other hand and scattered across the hallway carpet. Red roses, her favorites, now lying on the floor like drops of blood. My legs felt weak. My throat was dry. I had flown 6 hours to surprise her. I had left work early. I had planned this perfect moment. But now, standing here in this cold hotel hallway, everything I thought I knew was crumbling. The noise grew louder. Thump, thump, thump. What was happening in there? Who was that man? And why was he in my wife's room? My hand moved toward the door handle, shaking so badly I could barely control it. Part of me wanted to burst in right now. Part of me wanted to run away and never look back. But I had to know. I had to see the truth with my own eyes. Just as my fingers touched the cold metal of the door handle, I heard Sarah's voice. Just a little more. Almost there. Yes, yes. My blood turned to ice. Before we continue, if you're enjoying this story, please hit that subscribe button. Where are you watching from? Drop your country or city in the comments below. Now let me take you back to where this all began. My name is David, and 2 weeks ago, I thought I had the perfect life. I'm 32 years old, and I work as a software engineer for a company that makes apps for phones. It's not the most exciting job in the world, but it pays well, and it lets me provide for my family. My wife's name is Sarah. Well, it was Michelle, but let me call her Sarah for this story. Sarah is beautiful. She has long brown hair that shines in the sunlight, green eyes that sparkle when she smiles, and a laugh that sounds like music. We met 7 years ago at a coffee shop. She spilled her latte on my laptop by accident, and we both laughed about it. 6 months later, I asked her to marry me. She said yes without hesitation. For 6 years, everything was wonderful. We had a small house in the suburbs with a white fence and a garden where Sarah grew tomatoes and sunflowers. Every morning, she would make me breakfast, scrambled eggs and toast with strawberry jam. Every evening, we would sit on the couch together and watch our favorite shows. On weekends, we would go hiking or visit the beach. Life was simple. Life was good. Life was perfect. Or so I thought. 2 weeks before that terrible night in the hotel, Sarah came home from work with big news. She worked as a marketing manager for a company that sold beauty products, lotions, shampoos, makeup, things like that. She was really good at her job. Everyone at her company loved her. David, guess what? She said, bursting through the front door with excitement in her eyes. She was still wearing her work clothes, a blue blazer and a white blouse. I looked up from my computer. I was working from home that day, fixing some bugs in the code for our latest app. What is it? I asked, smiling at her enthusiasm. I got chosen for the big Chicago trip, she exclaimed, jumping up and down like a little kid. The company is sending me to represent our team at the National Marketing Conference. It's a huge deal, David. Huge. Only 5 people from the entire company got selected. I stood up and hugged her tight. That's amazing, honey. I'm so proud of you. She hugged me back, squeezing hard. I can't believe it. 3 days in Chicago, staying at a fancy hotel, meeting all these important people in the industry. This could really help my career. When do you leave? I asked. 2 weeks from today, she said, pulling back to look at me. I know it's soon, but the conference only happens once a year. Is that okay? Will you be all right alone for 3 days? I laughed and ruffled her hair playfully. Of course. I'm a grown man. I can take care of myself for 3 days. You should go. This is your big chance. She kissed me on the cheek. Thank you for understanding. You're the best husband in the world. Looking back now, I wish I had said something different. I wish I had asked more questions. I wish I had paid more attention to the small things that didn't quite add up. But I didn't. I was just happy for her. I trusted her completely. The next 2 weeks went by quickly. Sarah was busy preparing for her trip. She bought new clothes, fancy dresses, and high heels that she said were for the conference dinners. She spent hours on her laptop, working on presentations and rehearsing her speeches. She seemed more energetic than usual, more alive somehow. "You're really excited about this trip, aren't you?" I asked her one night as we lay in bed. "Of course," she said, scrolling through her phone. "This is a huge opportunity for me. If I do well at this conference, I might get promoted. We could finally afford that vacation to Hawaii you've been wanting." I smiled and kissed her forehead. "I just want you to be happy." She looked at me with those green eyes, and for a moment, I thought I saw something strange in them. Guilt? Sadness? Worry? But then she smiled and it was gone. "I love you, David," she said softly. "I love you too," I replied. But I didn't know then that those words would soon feel empty and hollow. The day of Sarah's trip finally arrived. It was a Monday morning, and the weather was perfect, sunny and warm with a gentle breeze. Sarah had packed her suitcase the night before. It was a big black suitcase on wheels, and it looked heavy. "Are you sure you have everything?" I asked as I helped her carry it to the car. Yes, I triple-checked," she said, laughing. "Stop worrying so much." I drove her to the airport. The whole way there, she was on her phone, texting someone. Her fingers moved quickly across the screen, and she had a small smile on her face. "Who are you texting?" I asked casually. "Oh, just my coworker, Emma," she said without looking up. "We're coordinating our arrival times, so we can share a taxi from the airport to the hotel." "That's smart," I said, keeping my eyes on the road. When we arrived at the airport, I parked the car and helped her get her suitcase out of the trunk. The airport was busy, people rushing everywhere with their luggage, families saying goodbye, businessmen checking their watches. "Well, this is it," Sarah said, looking at me with a strange expression. "I'll see you in 3 days. Call me when you land," I said, pulling her into a hug. "I will," she promised. She held me tight for a long moment, longer than usual. "David, thank you for being so understanding. Thank you for supporting me. Always," I said, kissing the top of her head. "Now go. You're going to miss your flight." She pulled away, grabbed her suitcase, and started walking toward the airport entrance. I watched her go, my wonderful wife, heading off to chase her dreams. She looked back once and waved. I waved back, and then she was gone, disappearing into the crowd of travelers. I drove home feeling proud but also a little lonely. The house felt empty without her. I made myself a sandwich for lunch and tried to focus on work, but I kept thinking about Sarah. I imagined her on the plane, reading a book or watching a movie. I imagined her arriving in Chicago, checking into the fancy hotel, preparing for her conference. Around dinner time, my phone rang. It was Sarah. "Hi, honey." Her voice came through the speaker, bright and cheerful. "I just wanted to let you know I landed safely. The hotel is beautiful. You should see it. There's a huge chandelier in the lobby and the rooms have these enormous beds." "That sounds amazing," I said, stirring the pasta I was cooking. "How was the flight?" "Long but fine," she said. "I watched 2 movies and took a nap. Emma and I shared a taxi like we planned. She's in the room next to mine." Good, I said. "Are you tired? You should rest before the conference tomorrow." "Yeah, I'm pretty exhausted," she admitted. "I think I'm just going to order room service and go to bed early. The conference starts at 8 in the morning, so I need to be up by 6. "Okay, get some sleep," I said. "I love you." "Love you too," she said, and then she hung up. I ate my pasta alone at the kitchen table, looking at the empty chair where Sarah usually sat. The house was so quiet. Too quiet. I turned on the TV just to have some background noise. The next day, Tuesday, Sarah texted me a few times. Short messages. "Morning. Conference is starting. So many people here. Just finished the first session. Very informative. Lunch break. The food is fancy but tiny portions, lol. I replied to each message, happy to hear from her. That evening, she called again. How was day one? I asked. Exhausting, she said, and I could hear the tiredness in her voice. But good. I met so many interesting people. There's this one guy from New York who... She stopped suddenly. Who what? I asked. Oh, nothing, she said quickly. Just... He gave a really good presentation about social media marketing. Anyway, I'm beat. I'm gonna take a bath and crash. Sounds good, I said. Sleep well. You too, she said. That night I couldn't sleep. I don't know why. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, feeling restless. The house creaked and settled around me. Outside, I could hear crickets chirping. I kept thinking about Sarah in her hotel room, far away in Chicago. Was she thinking about me too? Wednesday morning, I woke up with an idea. A crazy, spontaneous, romantic idea. What if I surprised Sarah? I could fly to Chicago, show up at her hotel, take her out to a nice dinner. She would be so shocked and happy. We could spend Wednesday night together, and then I'd fly back Thursday morning. It would be perfect. The more I thought about it, the more excited I became. Sarah had been working so hard lately. She deserved a surprise. She deserved to know how much I loved her and appreciated her. I grabbed my phone and started looking up flights. There was a flight leaving at noon that would get me to Chicago by 3 p.m. Perfect timing. Sarah's conference would end around 5 p.m., so I could be at the hotel waiting for her when she got back. I quickly booked the ticket. Then I called work and told my boss I needed to take a personal day for a family emergency. It wasn't technically a lie. Surprising my wife was definitely a personal emergency of the romantic kind. I packed a small overnight bag with a change of clothes and my toiletries. I was so excited I could barely stand still. This was going to be amazing. Before leaving for the airport, I tried calling Sarah to ask which hotel she was staying at. I realized I didn't actually know the name. She had mentioned it was fancy, but she hadn't told me the specific name. The call went straight to voicemail. She was probably in a conference session with her phone on silent. I sent her a text instead. Hey honey, quick question. What's the name of your hotel? Might want to send you some flowers or something. Smiley face. I added the smiley face to make it seem casual and not suspicious. While waiting for her reply, I checked her email on our shared computer. I know. Checking your wife's email without permission isn't great. But it wasn't like I was snooping. I just needed to find the hotel name so I could surprise her. It was for a good reason. I found the confirmation email from her company's travel department. The hotel was called the Grand Chicago Luxury Hotel on Michigan Avenue. Room 314. Perfect. I wrote down the address and headed to the airport. The flight to Chicago felt like it took forever. I was in a middle seat between a large man who snored and a woman who kept coughing. I tried to read a book on my phone, but I couldn't focus. I kept imagining Sarah's face when she saw me. Would she scream with joy? Would she cry happy tears? Would she jump into my arms? During the flight, I checked my phone whenever the signal allowed. Sarah still hadn't replied to my text about the hotel name. That was strange. She usually replied pretty quickly. But then again, she was probably really busy with the conference. When the plane finally landed in Chicago, I turned off airplane mode and immediately checked my messages. Still nothing from Sarah. I felt a tiny flutter of worry in my stomach, but I pushed it away. She was just busy. That's all. I took a taxi from the airport to the hotel. Chicago was a beautiful city. Tall buildings, busy streets, people everywhere. The taxi driver was chatty, telling me about the best pizza places and tourist attractions, but I barely heard him. I was too focused on my mission. The Grand Chicago Luxury Hotel was exactly as fancy as Sarah had described. It was a tall, glass building with a doorman in a red uniform and a golden revolving door. The lobby was enormous, with white marble floors, crystal chandeliers, and beautiful furniture. I walked up to the front desk, where a young woman with a perfect smile greeted me. Welcome to the Grand Chicago. How can I help you today? Hi, I said, trying to sound confident. My wife is staying here for a conference. Her name is Sarah Mitchell, room 314. I wanted to surprise her, so I was wondering if I could get a key to her room. The woman's smile didn't waver, but I could see hesitation in her eyes. I'm sorry, sir, but for security reasons, I can't give out room keys unless you're registered as a guest in that room. But I'm her husband, I said, pulling out my phone. Look, here's our wedding photo. See? That's us. She looked at the photo and nodded sympathetically. I understand, sir, and that's very sweet that you want to surprise your wife. Let me call up to the room and let her know you're here. She can come down or give us permission to send you up. No, I said quickly. That would ruin the surprise. Isn't there any way you can just, I don't know, make an exception? The woman thought for a moment. Well, I could call the room first. If no one answers, I suppose I could give you a key since you've proven you're her husband. Would that work? Yes. Perfect, I said, relief washing over me. She picked up the phone and dialed room 314. It rang, and rang, and rang. No answer, she said after 30 seconds. She hung up and looked at me. Okay, since you've shown me proof of your relationship and the room isn't answering, I'll make an exception this one time. She made me a key card and handed it to me with a smile. Room 314, third floor. The elevators are just past the lobby to your right. Thank you so much, I said, practically grabbing the key from her hand. I rushed to the elevators, my heart pounding with excitement. This was it. I was about to surprise Sarah in the most romantic way possible. But as I stood in the elevator, watching the numbers light up, 1, 2, 3, that tiny flutter of worry from earlier came back, stronger this time. Why hadn't Sarah answered the phone in her room? The conference was over by now. It was almost 5:30 p.m. Where was she? Maybe she was in the shower. Yeah, that made sense. She was probably taking a shower after a long day at the conference. The elevator dinged, and the doors opened to the third floor. I stepped out into a long hallway with burgundy carpet and gold-framed paintings on the walls. Room numbers were marked on little plaques. 301, 302, 303. I walked down the hallway, counting the numbers. My overnight bag felt heavier with each step. 310, 311, 312, and then I saw it. Room 314. I stopped in front of the door, suddenly nervous. Should I knock first? Should I just use the key and burst in? What if she really was in the shower and I scared her? I was about to knock when I heard it. The noise. Thump, thump, thump. I pressed my ear against the door, trying to hear better. Thump, thump, thump. It was rhythmic, constant. What was that sound? And then I heard the voice. A man's voice. Sarah. My blood turned cold. My hands started shaking. My heart felt like it stopped beating. There was a man in my wife's room. A man who was saying her name. No, I thought. No. There must be an explanation. Maybe it's Emma's brother. Maybe it's a coworker. Maybe it's room service. Maybe. But then I heard Sarah's voice, and my world shattered. Just a little more. Almost there. Yes. My legs nearly gave out. I grabbed the wall to steady myself. The key card in my hand suddenly felt like it weighed 1,000 pounds. What was I supposed to do? Should I burst in? Should I run away? Should I call someone? A million thoughts raced through my mind, each one more terrible than the last. This can't be happening. This can't be real. Not Sarah. Not my Sarah. We love each other. We're happy. We're perfect. This has to be a mistake. There has to be an explanation. The sounds continued. Thump, thump, thump. The man's voice again. That's it. You're doing great. I closed my eyes and took a deep breath. My entire body was trembling. Tears were starting to form in my eyes, but I blinked them back. I had to know. Whatever was happening in that room, I had to see it with my own eyes. I had to face the truth no matter how much it hurt. My hand moved toward the door handle, shaking so badly I could barely control it. This was it. The moment that would change everything. I inserted the key card into the slot. The little light turned green. I pushed down on the handle. The door began to open. The door swung open slowly, and for a moment, Everything seemed to move in slow motion. My heart was beating so loud I could hear it in my ears like drums. Boom, boom, boom. The hotel room came into view piece by piece. First, I saw the edge of a chair, then a lamp on a desk, then the corner of the bed with white sheets and fluffy pillows. Thump, thump, thump. The noise was louder now, much louder, and I could hear voices more clearly. Keep going. That's perfect. The man's voice said. I'm trying. It's harder than it looks. Sarah's voice replied, breathless and strained. I took one step into the room, my legs feeling like jelly. My stomach was twisted and not so tight I thought I might throw up. Every muscle in my body was tense, ready for the worst moment of my life. I turned the corner fully and saw them, and then I froze completely, because what I saw was not what I expected. Sarah was standing in the middle of the room, wearing her business clothes, a gray skirt and a white blouse. Her hair was pulled back in a ponytail, and her face was red and sweaty. She was holding one end of a huge, heavy desk, trying to move it across the room. On the other side of the desk was a man, but not just any man. He was wearing a hotel maintenance uniform, a dark blue shirt with a name tag that said, Marcus, and matching pants. He was probably in his 50s with gray hair and a friendly face. He was also struggling with the desk, his arms shaking from the weight. Just a little more to the left, Marcus was saying. Almost there. Yes, yes. Perfect. They set the desk down with a loud thump right next to the window. That's when Sarah looked up and saw me standing in the doorway. Her eyes went wide. Her mouth dropped open. She looked like she had just seen a ghost. David? She screamed, so loud that Marcus actually jumped and almost knocked over the lamp. I stood there, unable to move, unable to speak. My brain was trying to process what I was seeing. There was no affair, no cheating, just my wife, moving furniture with a hotel maintenance man. What are you doing here? Sarah asked, her hand on her chest like she was trying to calm her racing heart. I wanted to surprise you, I managed to say. My voice sounded strange and hollow. All the fear and panic from 30 seconds ago was still coursing through my body, but now it had nowhere to go. I flew here to take you to dinner and... Sarah looked at Marcus, then back at me, then started laughing. Not a small laugh. A huge, loud, can't catch her breath kind of laugh. You nearly gave me a heart attack, she said between laughs. I thought someone was breaking into my room. Marcus cleared his throat awkwardly. Well, I think my job here is done. The desk is moved. If you need anything else, just call the front desk. He nodded at both of us and quickly left the room, probably glad to escape the weird situation. Sarah walked over to me and threw her arms around my neck. You flew all the way to Chicago to surprise me? David, that's so sweet. I can't believe you did that. I hugged her back, but my body was still shaking. My mind was still spinning. I heard noises and voices, and I thought. Sarah pulled back and looked at me with concern. What did you think? I couldn't say it. I couldn't admit that for those terrible few minutes. I had thought she was cheating on me. Seemed so stupid now. So ridiculous. Nothing, I said, forcing a smile. I just got confused. Why were you moving furniture? Sarah rolled her eyes and gestured at the desk by the window. The Wi-Fi connection was terrible by the bed, and I needed to finish preparing my presentation for tomorrow's conference session. The hotel guy, Marcus, said the signal is stronger near the window, so he offered to help me move the desk. That's all. Oh, I said, feeling like the biggest idiot in the world. That makes sense. Sarah kissed me on the cheek. Come on, sit down. You must be exhausted from the flight. I still can't believe you're here. This is such an amazing surprise. I sat down on the edge of the bed while Sarah grabbed 2 bottles of water from the mini fridge. She handed me one and sat down next to me. So, she said with a huge smile, you really flew 6 hours just to see me for one night? Yeah, I said, taking a sip of water. My hands were finally starting to stop shaking. I missed you, and I thought it would be romantic. It is romantic, she said, squeezing my hand. It's the most romantic thing anyone has ever done for me. We sat there for a moment in comfortable silence. Slowly, my heartbeat returned to normal. The panic faded away. I felt silly for jumping to such terrible conclusions. This was Sarah, my loving, faithful, wonderful wife. Of course she wasn't cheating on me. How could I have even thought that? So, Sarah said, since you're here, we should definitely go out to dinner. There's this amazing Italian restaurant just 2 blocks away. The conference people were talking about it all day. Are you hungry? Starving, I admitted. I hadn't eaten since the tiny bag of pretzels on the plane. Perfect. Let me just change into something nicer, and we'll go. 20 minutes later, we were walking down Michigan Avenue hand in hand. Chicago at night was beautiful. The buildings were lit up with colorful lights, and the streets were full of people enjoying the warm evening. Street musicians played guitars on corners, and the smell of food drifted from restaurants. Sarah had changed into a pretty red dress that I had never seen before. When did you buy that? I asked. Oh, just before the trip, she said casually. I wanted something nice for the conference dinners. The Italian restaurant was called Giovanni's, and it looked fancy from the outside. Red awning, soft lights in the windows, and a menu board written in cursive. A man in a tuxedo opened the door for us. Welcome to Giovanni's, he said with a slight Italian accent. Do you have a reservation? No, sorry, I said. We were hoping you might have a table for 2? The man checked his computer and nodded. You're in luck. We have 1 table left. Follow me. He led us through the restaurant to a small table in the corner. The place was crowded and noisy in a good way. People laughing, wine glasses clinking, the smell of garlic and tomato sauce filling the air. Candles flickered on every table. We sat down, and a waiter brought us menus and a basket of bread. This is perfect, Sarah said, looking around with sparkling eyes. Thank you for doing this, David. This whole surprise means so much to me. Anything for you, I said, meaning it completely. We ordered our food, lasagna for me, chicken parmesan for Sarah, and a bottle of red wine to share. As we waited for the food, we talked about her conference. So how's it been going? I asked, dipping bread in olive oil. Really good, Sarah said enthusiastically. I've learned so much. There was this one presentation about using artificial intelligence in marketing campaigns. It was fascinating, and I met people from all over the country, California, Texas, Florida, New York. That's great, I said. I'm proud of you. Sarah smiled, but then her phone buzzed on the table. She glanced at the screen, and for just a second, her smile faltered. Her expression changed to something I couldn't quite read. Worry? Guilt? Surprise? Everything okay? I asked. Yeah, fine, she said quickly, flipping her phone face down on the table. Just a work email. I'll check it later. But 2 minutes later, her phone buzzed again, and again, and again. Each time, Sarah glanced at it nervously but didn't pick it up. You can answer if you need to, I said. I don't mind. No, it's fine, she said, but her voice sounded strained. Tonight is about us. Work can wait. The food arrived, and it was delicious. The lasagna was hot and cheesy, and the bread was so soft it melted in my mouth. We ate and talked about normal things. Our house, our friends, the new season of our favorite TV show. But I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. Sarah kept checking her phone every few minutes. She was smiling and laughing and acting normal, but there was something in her eyes. A distraction. A worry. Sarah, I said carefully, are you sure everything's all right? You seem, I don't know, nervous about something. I'm not nervous, she said, a little too loudly. A couple at the next table looked over. Sarah lowered her voice. I'm fine, David. Really. I'm just surprised you're here. In a good way, but it's a lot to process, you know? I thought I'd be alone all week, and now you're here. And it's wonderful but also unexpected and… Her phone buzzed again, louder this time. Sarah grabbed it quickly and glanced at the screen. This time her face went pale. Actually pale, like she had seen something terrible. "Excuse me," she said abruptly, standing up. "I need to use the restroom. I'll be right back." She hurried away from the table before I could respond, her phone clutched in her hand. I sat there alone, confused and starting to feel worried again. What was on that phone that made her react like that? Who was texting her so urgently? 5 minutes passed, then 10, then 15. Our waiter came by. "Is everything all right with the food, sir?" "Yes, it's great," I said. "My wife just had to. She'll be back soon." But I wasn't sure anymore. After 20 minutes, I started to really worry. Was she sick? Did something happen? I stood up and walked toward the restrooms at the back of the restaurant. The ladies' room door was closed. I stood outside, feeling awkward, not sure what to do. Should I knock? Should I wait? Then I heard Sarah's voice coming from inside. She was talking to someone on the phone, and her voice was urgent and hushed. "I told you not to contact me tonight," she hissed. "This is not a good time. He's here." I froze. Who was she talking to? And why did she sound so upset? "No, I can't talk about this now," Sarah continued. "We'll deal with it tomorrow." "Yes, tomorrow. I promise. Look, I have to go. He's probably wondering where I am." Yes, I understand. Goodbye." I heard footsteps approaching the door, and I quickly stepped back and pretended I was just walking past. The door opened and Sarah came out. When she saw me, she jumped slightly. "Oh, David, I was just coming back to the table. Are you okay?" I asked, studying her face. "You were gone a long time." "Yeah, sorry," she said with a forced smile. "My stomach's been a little weird today. Must be all the conference food. I'm fine now though. Let's go finish dinner." She took my arm and practically dragged me back to our table. But for the rest of the meal, she was different. Quieter. More distracted. She kept glancing at her phone, but she didn't pick it up anymore. When the check came, I paid quickly, and we walked back to the hotel in silence. The beautiful night that had seemed so romantic an hour ago now felt heavy and strange. We rode the elevator up to the 3rd floor without saying much. Sarah was staring at the floor, lost in thought. I kept stealing glances at her, trying to figure out what was going on. When we got back to room 314, Sarah immediately kicked off her heels and collapsed on the bed with a sigh. "What a day," she said, staring at the ceiling. "I'm exhausted." I sat down next to her. "Sarah, can we talk?" "About what?" she asked, but she didn't look at me. "About what happened at dinner," I said carefully. "You got those messages, and you went to the bathroom for a long time, and I heard you on the phone talking to someone. You were listening to my phone call?" Sarah sat up quickly, her expression suddenly angry. "David, that's really not okay." "I wasn't trying to listen," I said defensively. "I was just checking on you because you were gone so long, and I happened to hear me having a private conversation," Sarah interrupted. "That's called eavesdropping." "I know, and I'm sorry, but..." I took a breath, trying to stay calm. "Sarah, who were you talking to? And why did you sound so upset?" Sarah's face softened a little. She sighed and rubbed her eyes. "It was Emma, my coworker. Remember I told you about her? She's having some personal issues. Her boyfriend is being difficult, and she needed someone to talk to. I didn't want to bore you with her drama during our romantic dinner, so I took the call in private. That's all." It sounded reasonable. It made sense. But something in my gut told me it wasn't the whole truth. "Okay," I said slowly. "But why were you so secretive about it? Why did you tell her he's here like you were hiding something?" Sarah laughed, but it sounded fake. "I just meant that you were here at the restaurant, and I couldn't talk freely about Emma's boyfriend problems in front of you. You don't even know Emma. It would have been awkward. I was trying to be considerate of you, David. I wanted to believe her. I really did. But my earlier panic, that terrible moment when I thought she was cheating, was creeping back into my mind like a dark shadow." "Look," Sarah said, taking my hands in hers. "I know tonight got a little weird, but you have to trust me. There's nothing going on. I'm just stressed from the conference and surprised by your visit and dealing with Emma's drama. It's a lot all at once. But I love you. You know that, right? I know, I said quietly. Good. She kissed me softly. Now I really am exhausted. Can we just go to sleep? We can spend all day tomorrow together before you fly back. Actually, my flight's not until Thursday morning, I said. I took tomorrow off work too. Oh, Sarah's eyes widened, and again, I saw that flash of worry cross her face. That's great. More time together. But she didn't sound happy about it. She sounded nervous. We got ready for bed in silence. I changed into the pajamas I had packed, and Sarah changed into her nightgown. We both brushed our teeth at the bathroom sink, standing side by side like we did every night at home, but it felt different somehow. Wrong. When we got into bed, Sarah immediately turned on her side, facing away from me. Good night, she whispered. Good night, I replied. But I didn't sleep. I lay there in the darkness, staring at the ceiling, my mind racing with questions and doubts and fears. Next to me, Sarah was breathing steadily, but I could tell she wasn't asleep either. Her body was too tense, too still. We both lay there, pretending to sleep, both of us hiding secrets in the darkness. I must have fallen asleep at some point because I woke up to sunlight streaming through the window. I reached over for Sarah, but her side of the bed was empty and cold. I sat up quickly, my heart pounding. Where was she? Then I heard the shower running in the bathroom. I relaxed a little. She was just taking a shower. That was normal. I checked my phone. It was 7:30 a.m. We had time for breakfast together before her conference sessions started at 9 a.m. While I waited for Sarah to finish her shower, I noticed her phone on the nightstand. It was face up, and the screen was lit up with notifications. I know I shouldn't have looked. I know it was wrong. But after everything that had happened last night, the mysterious phone call, the strange behavior, the lies that didn't quite add up, I couldn't help myself. Picked up her phone. It was locked, but I could see the notification previews on the screen. There were several text messages from someone named Jason. My blood turned cold. Who was Jason? The preview of the most recent message read, "We need to talk about last night. This is getting complicated. Call me when you can." Another message from earlier, "David being there changes everything. What are we going to do?" And another from the night before during dinner, "Is he still with you? Can you get away?" My hands started shaking again. The phone almost slipped from my grip. This couldn't be happening. This couldn't be real. There was a man named Jason. Sarah had been talking to him. About me. About getting away from me. The shower turned off. I quickly put the phone back on the nightstand, exactly where it had been. My heart was racing so fast I thought I might pass out. The bathroom door opened, and Sarah came out wrapped in a towel, her wet hair dripping on the carpet. She saw me sitting on the bed and smiled. "Good morning. Did you sleep well?" I couldn't speak. I just stared at her. "David? Are you okay? You look pale." "Who's Jason?" The words came out before I could stop them. Sarah's smile vanished instantly. The color drained from her face. "What? Jason?" I repeated, my voice shaking. "Who is he? How did you look at my phone?" Her voice rose in pitch, becoming defensive. "Your notifications were showing," I said, standing up. "Messages from someone named Jason. He was texting about me, about last night, about things being complicated. What is going on, Sarah? Who is this man?" Sarah clutched her towel tighter around her body. For a long moment, she just stood there, water dripping from her hair onto the floor, her eyes wide and frightened. "David, I can explain." "Then explain," I shouted. I never shouted at Sarah. Never. But all the fear and confusion and suspicion from the past 24 hours was exploding out of me. "Explain why some man I've never heard of is texting you about me. Explain why you've been acting so strange. Explain why you lied to me at dinner. Explain." "I didn't lie." Sarah's eyes filled with tears. I couldn't tell you everything because why?" I demanded. "Because Jason is my coworker and we've been working on a secret project together. she yelled back. I stopped. What? Sarah wiped her eyes with the back of her hand, smearing her tears across her cheeks. Jason works in my department. We've been secretly developing a new marketing campaign for the past 6 months. It's confidential, like really confidential. The company doesn't want anyone to know about it until we launch next month. That's why I couldn't tell you about him. That's why I've been weird and secretive. She grabbed her phone from the nightstand and unlocked it. Her hands were shaking as she scrolled through her messages. Look, she said, shoving the phone toward me. Look at the messages. They're all about work, about the project, about presentations and strategies and launch dates. I took the phone and read through the messages between Sarah and Jason. She was right, they were all about work. Discussions about marketing campaigns, budget proposals, presentation slides, meeting times. But there was also this, I can't wait to see you tonight. Same place as always. And Sarah's response, yes, 10 p.m. Don't be late. I looked up at Sarah, holding the phone like it was evidence in a crime. What's this? What meeting at 10 p.m.? Sarah's face went red. We have late-night work sessions sometimes. After the conference events end. We meet in the hotel conference room to work on the project without anyone else around. Late at night? Alone with another man? And you didn't think to mention this to me? I didn't mention it because it's work. David. Sarah was crying now, really crying. I didn't think I needed to give you a detailed schedule of every single work meeting I attend. This isn't just a work meeting, I said, my voice breaking. You're meeting another man alone at night in a hotel. How am I supposed to feel about that? You're supposed to trust me, Sarah screamed. You're supposed to believe me when I tell you nothing is happening. Jason is just a coworker. The project is just work. There is no affair. There is no cheating. There is nothing. We stood there facing each other, both of us breathing hard, both of us crying. Then why do I feel like you're lying to me? I whispered. Sarah's face crumpled. She sat down on the bed and put her face in her hands. Her shoulders shook as she sobbed. Because you don't trust me, she said through her tears. Because you flew all the way here without telling me. Because you jumped to conclusions when you heard a maintenance man in my room. Because you looked at my phone. Because no matter what I say or do, you've already decided I'm guilty of something. Her words hit me like punches to the stomach. Was she right? Was I being paranoid and unfair? I sat down next to her on the bed, keeping some distance between us. Sarah, I said quietly, I want to trust you. I really do. But everything about this trip has been strange. The way you've been acting, the secret phone calls, this Jason person, the late-night meetings. It all looks bad. You have to see that, right? Sarah lifted her head and looked at me with red, swollen eyes. I know it looks bad. I'm sorry. I should have told you about Jason and the project from the beginning. But I signed a non-disclosure agreement. I legally can't talk about it. The company threatened to fire anyone who leaks information about this campaign before launch. You could have at least told me you were working with a male coworker on late-night projects. I said, I'm your husband. I deserve to know that much. You're right, Sarah admitted, wiping her nose with a tissue from the nightstand. You're right. I should have told you. I'm sorry. We sat in heavy silence. The room felt cold despite the sunlight coming through the windows. Finally, Sarah spoke again, her voice small and tired. David, do you want to meet Jason? I looked at her, surprised. What? Do you want to meet him? She repeated. He'll be at the conference today. I can introduce you. You can see for yourself that he's just a normal coworker and that there's nothing romantic between us. Would that help you trust me again? I thought about it. Part of me wanted to say yes immediately. I wanted to see this Jason person, to look him in the eye, to judge for myself what kind of relationship he had with my wife. But another part of me felt like I was being manipulated. Like this was a test I couldn't win. I don't know, I said honestly. Maybe. Sarah nodded slowly. Okay, well, the offer stands. Think about it. She stood up and went back to the bathroom to get dressed. I heard her moving around, opening drawers, the sound of the hairdryer. I sat on the bed, my head in my hands, feeling more confused than ever. Was Sarah telling the truth? Was I being paranoid? Or was my gut instinct right that something was very, very wrong? An hour later, we were walking into the conference center attached to the hotel. It was a huge building with multiple ballrooms and meeting rooms. People in business clothes were everywhere, carrying laptops, drinking coffee from paper cups, wearing name badges on lanyards. Sarah had barely spoken to me during breakfast. We had gone to a cafe down the street and eaten bagels in awkward silence. She was still upset, and honestly, so was I. Now, as we entered the main conference hall, Sarah put on a professional smile like a mask. "My session is in conference room B," she said stiffly. "It starts in 15 minutes. You can sit in the back if you want, or you can wait in the lobby. Whatever you prefer." "I'll come to your session," I said. "I want to support you." She nodded but didn't smile. Conference room B was already half full when we arrived. It was set up with rows of chairs facing a stage with a podium and a large screen for presentations. People were chatting, checking their phones, settling into seats. Sarah went to the front to prepare her presentation materials. I found a seat in the very back row, trying to be inconspicuous. As I sat there watching Sarah set up her laptop and test the microphone, I saw a man approach her. He was tall, probably about my age, with dark hair styled perfectly and wearing an expensive-looking gray suit. He was handsome in that polished, professional way. He said something to Sarah, and she smiled. A real smile, not the fake one she'd been wearing all morning. They talked for a moment, their heads close together, and then they both laughed at something. My stomach twisted into knots. That had to be Jason. More people filed into the room, and soon all the seats were filled. A woman in a blue dress went to the podium and tapped the microphone. "Good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's session on innovative marketing strategies in the digital age. I'm pleased to introduce our first speaker, Sarah Mitchell from Lux Beauty Products. Sarah has been with Lux for 6 years and has pioneered several successful campaigns. Please give her a warm welcome." Everyone clapped, and Sarah walked up to the podium. Despite everything that had happened this morning, I felt a surge of pride watching her. She looked confident and professional. This was her moment. "Thank you all for being here," Sarah began, her voice clear and strong. "Today I'm going to talk about how companies can use social media influencers to reach younger demographics while maintaining brand authenticity." She was good, really good. Her presentation was interesting and well organized. She told stories about successful campaigns and showed graphs and statistics. People in the audience were taking notes and nodding along. But I couldn't focus on her words. I kept watching that man, Jason, who was sitting in the front row. Every so often, Sarah would make eye contact with him, and he would nod encouragingly or smile. How often did they look at each other like that? How many late-night work sessions had they shared? How close had they become during these 6 months of secret meetings? After 45 minutes, Sarah's presentation ended to enthusiastic applause. She answered a few questions from the audience, and then the woman in the blue dress thanked her and announced a 15-minute break before the next speaker. People stood up and started leaving the room or chatting in small groups. I watched Jason immediately walk up to Sarah at the front. They talked for a moment, and then Sarah pointed in my direction. Jason turned and looked at me. Our eyes met across the room. Then they both started walking toward me. My heart started pounding. This was it. I was about to meet Jason face to face. "David," Sarah said as they reached me, her voice carefully neutral. "This is Jason Crawford. He works in my department." "Jason, this is my husband, David." Jason extended his hand with a friendly smile. "David, great to meet you. Sarah's told me so much about you." I shook his hand, probably gripping it too tightly. "Has she?" "Of course," Jason said cheerfully. "She talks about you all the time. The software engineer who makes apps, right? That's so cool. I don't understand anything about coding. It's like magic to me." He seemed nice, genuinely nice, and normal. Not at all like a man who was having an affair with my wife. But that's exactly how an affair partner would act, wouldn't they? Friendly and innocent. Sarah gave a great presentation, I said, trying to sound casual. She really did, Jason agreed enthusiastically. She's been working so hard on this material. Late nights, weekends, really putting in the hours. But it paid off. That was excellent, Sarah. Thanks, Sarah said quietly, looking between Jason and me like she was afraid we might start fighting. An awkward silence fell over us. So, Jason said, breaking the silence, are you enjoying Chicago? First time here? Yeah, first time, I said. I came to surprise Sarah. That's so romantic, Jason said. My girlfriend would love if I did something like that, although she'd probably prefer Paris over Chicago. He laughed at his own joke. Wait, girlfriend? Your girlfriend? I repeated. Yeah, Melissa, Jason said, pulling out his phone. We've been together for 3 years. Here, I'll show you a picture. He showed me his phone screen. The wallpaper was a photo of Jason with a beautiful blonde woman. They were at what looked like a beach, both smiling, his arm around her shoulders. She's a teacher, Jason continued. 3rd grade. She couldn't come on this trip because of work, but I'm taking her to the final conference dinner tomorrow night. Sarah, you're still planning to bring David to that, right? Sarah nodded. If he wants to come. I felt like an idiot. Jason had a girlfriend of 3 years. He wasn't having an affair with Sarah. He was just a coworker. All my suspicions suddenly seemed ridiculous and paranoid. That's great, I said weakly. About the dinner, I mean, yeah, I'd love to come. Perfect, Jason said. Well, I should get going. I have a call with my team in 10 minutes. Nice meeting you, David. See you both tomorrow night. He waved and walked away, leaving Sarah and me alone in the conference room. Most of the other attendees had left during the break. So, Sarah said quietly, her arms crossed. Do you believe me now? I didn't know what to say. Jason seemed completely innocent. He had a girlfriend. He was friendly and professional. There was nothing suspicious about him at all. I'm sorry, I said finally. You were right. I was being paranoid. I jumped to conclusions. Yes, you did, Sarah interrupted, her voice sharp. You accused me of cheating based on some text messages about work and a meeting schedule. You looked through my phone. You didn't trust me. I know, and I don't want to hear it right now, Sarah said, holding up her hand. I have another session starting in 5 minutes, and I need to focus. We'll talk later. She turned and walked away before I could respond. I stood there alone in the empty conference room, feeling terrible. I had ruined everything. I had let my insecurities and fears destroy what should have been a romantic surprise visit. But even as I stood there, even as I told myself I was wrong, a tiny voice in the back of my mind whispered, something still isn't right. The rest of Thursday passed in uncomfortable tension. I attended another one of Sarah's conference sessions in the afternoon. She was on a panel discussion about brand messaging, and she was brilliant, but she barely acknowledged me. After the conference ended for the day, we went to dinner at a steakhouse. We made small talk about the food and the weather and anything except what had happened that morning. Felt like we were strangers. Back at the hotel room, we watched TV in silence. Sarah was on her laptop, supposedly working on tomorrow's presentation. I pretended to read a book on my phone but couldn't focus. Around 9:30 p.m., Sarah closed her laptop and stood up. I need to go down to the conference room, she said, not looking at me. I sat up straight. Now? It's late. Jason and I have to finalize tomorrow's presentation, she said, her voice flat. I told you we have late-night work sessions. There it was again, that uncomfortable feeling in my stomach. Can I come with you? I asked. Sarah's jaw tightened. David, we've been through this. It's a private work meeting about a confidential project. You can't be there. I won't listen to your work stuff, I said, standing up. I'll just sit in the corner. I won't even pay attention. No, Sarah said loudly, then caught herself and lowered her voice. No, you can't come. You have to trust me. Please. We stared at each other. Fine, I said finally, sitting back down. Go. Thank you, Sarah said coldly. She grabbed her laptop and headed for the door. I'll be back in a couple of hours. The door closed behind her, and I was alone. I sat on the bed for about 5 minutes, staring at the wall. My mind was racing. Why couldn't I go to the meeting? If it was really just work, why was it such a big deal if I sat quietly in the corner? And why did Sarah get so defensive about it? The more I thought about it, the more that uncomfortable feeling grew. Finally, I made a decision. A bad decision, probably. A decision I would regret. But I had to know the truth. I grabbed my room key and left the hotel room. I took the elevator down to the lobby level where the conference rooms were located. The hallway was empty and quiet. Most of the conference rooms had their lights off. But at the end of the hall, I saw light coming from under the door of conference room F. I walked quietly down the hallway, my heart pounding. I knew this was wrong. I knew I was being that paranoid, jealous husband again. But I couldn't stop myself. As I got closer to conference room F, I could hear voices inside. Sarah's voice, and Jason's voice. I pressed my ear against the door, trying to hear what they were saying. Can't keep doing this, Jason was saying. It's too risky. I know, Sarah replied, her voice stressed. But we're so close. Just one more week until... One more week until what? Jason interrupted. Until your husband finds out? He already suspects something. Sarah, he's not stupid. My blood turned cold. He doesn't know anything, Sarah said firmly. I handled it. Did you? Jason challenged. Because from where I'm standing, bringing him to meet me was a huge risk. What if he? I couldn't take it anymore. I grabbed the door handle and pushed it open. Sarah and Jason spun around, their faces shocked. But what I saw made absolutely no sense. The conference room was filled with papers. Dozens, no hundreds, of papers spread across tables, pinned to boards on the walls, scattered on the floor. There were photographs, charts, maps, and documents with official-looking seals. In the center of it all was a large corkboard with a complex web of strings connecting different photos and notes, like something from a detective movie. Sarah and Jason weren't sitting close together romantically. They weren't embracing or kissing. They were standing on opposite sides of a table covered in documents, both looking exhausted and stressed, and scared. They both looked terrified to see me. David, Sarah whispered, her face going white. You can't be here. You can't be here. What is all this? I asked, stepping further into the room and looking around at all the papers. Jason ran his hand through his hair, looking panicked. Sarah, we have to tell him now. We don't have a choice anymore. Tell me what? I demanded, my voice rising. What the hell is going on? Sarah looked at Jason, then back at me. I could see her making a decision in her eyes. A decision that would change everything. She took a deep breath. David, she said slowly, I'm not just a marketing manager. I work for the FBI. I stared at her. The words didn't make sense. They couldn't be real. What? Was all I could manage to say. The marketing job is my cover, Sarah continued, speaking quickly now. I've been an undercover agent for 3 years. Jason is my partner, my FBI partner. And this conference isn't a real marketing conference. We're here investigating a money laundering operation that's using beauty product companies to move illegal money across state lines. I looked around the room again, seeing it all differently now. The photos weren't of products or campaigns, they were surveillance photos of people. The charts weren't marketing data, they were financial records. The maps had locations marked with red pins. This is insane, I said, my voice hollow. This can't be real. You're a marketing manager. I've seen your office. I've met your coworkers. Some of them are real coworkers, Sarah interrupted. The company is real. But my actual job is to gather intelligence on criminal activity within the beauty product industry. The FBI embedded me there 3 years ago, right after we got married. 3 years. I felt like the floor was tilting beneath me. You've been lying to me for 3 years? I haven't been lying, Sarah said desperately. I couldn't tell you. It's classified. Agents in deep cover can't reveal their identity to anyone, not even their spouses. It's for safety, for your safety. Don't give me that, I shouted, my voice echoing in the conference room. You've been living a double life. You've been working with this man. I pointed at Jason, having late-night meetings and secret phone calls and lying to me every single day. For 3 years. I wanted to tell you so many times, Sarah said, and now she was crying. You have no idea how hard it's been keeping this secret from you. But I couldn't. The operation is almost over. Just 1 more week until we make the arrests. And then I was going to tell you everything. I was going to explain it all. Jason stepped forward. David, I know this is a lot to process, but you have to understand, what Sarah's been doing is incredibly dangerous. The people we're investigating are serious criminals. If they found out she was FBI, they would kill her. And they would kill anyone connected to her, including you. That's why she couldn't tell you. I laughed, but it sounded bitter and angry. So what was your plan, Sarah? Keep lying to me forever? Let me think you were having an affair? That was better than the truth. I never wanted you to think that. Sarah sobbed. That's why I got so upset this morning. I couldn't stand you thinking I would cheat on you, but I also couldn't tell you the real reason for all the secrecy. I was trapped. You're FBI, I said flatly, still trying to wrap my mind around it. My wife is FBI. Yes, Sarah whispered. I looked around the room one more time, at all the evidence of the secret life my wife had been living. A life of danger and deception and lies. I need to get out of here, I said, backing toward the door. David, wait, Sarah started. No, I shouted. Don't follow me. Just leave me alone. I ran out of the conference room, down the hallway, and into the elevator. I pressed the button for the 3rd floor, my hands shaking so badly I could barely make them work. When I got back to room 314, I grabbed my overnight bag and started shoving my clothes into it. I didn't even fold them. I just wanted to get out of this hotel, out of this city, away from all these lies. There was a knock on the door. David, please. Sarah's voice came from the hallway. Let me explain more. Let me. Go away, I yelled. I love you, Sarah cried through the door. I know you're angry, and you have every right to be, but I love you. That part was never a lie. I sat down on the edge of the bed, my head in my hands. My whole world had just been turned upside down. Everything I thought I knew about my wife, about our marriage, about our life together, it was all built on lies. How could I ever trust her again? How could we come back from this? The knocking stopped. I heard Sarah's footsteps walking away down the hallway. I was alone in a hotel room in a city far from home. My marriage possibly destroyed. My heart shattered into pieces. And the worst part? Somewhere deep down, I still loved her. Despite everything, despite all the lies, I still loved Sarah with all my heart, which made this hurt even more. I didn't sleep at all that night. I just sat on the bed, staring at the wall, replaying everything in my mind. Every conversation, every excuse, every lie Sarah had told me over the past 3 years. How many times had she said she was working late, when she was really on FBI business? How many business trips were actually dangerous undercover operations? How many times had she kissed me goodnight knowing she was living a complete double life? Around 3 a.m., I heard the hotel room door open quietly. Sarah came in looking exhausted. Her eyes were red and puffy from crying. You came back, she said softly, seeing my bag still packed on the floor. I couldn't get a flight until morning, I said coldly, not looking at her. Sarah sat down on the chair across from me, keeping her distance. David, please let me explain everything properly. What's there to explain? I asked bitterly. You've been lying to me since basically the day we got married. You're a completely different person than I thought you were. No, Sarah said firmly. I'm the same person. The same woman who spilled coffee on your laptop. The same woman who grows tomatoes in our garden. The same woman who makes you scrambled eggs every morning. That's all real, David. The only thing I couldn't tell you was my job. Your job isn't a small detail, Sarah, I said, finally looking at her. It's your entire life. You work with criminals. You're in danger constantly. And I had no idea. What if something had happened to you? What if you'd gotten hurt or killed? I would have never known why. Sarah's face crumpled. I know it was wrong to keep you in the dark. But I didn't have a choice. When I joined the FBI, I was young and single. Then I met you, and I fell in love so fast. By the time I realized how serious we were, I was already deep undercover. I couldn't just quit. People's lives depended on this operation. So you chose the job over me? I said quietly. No, Sarah said desperately. I chose both. I wanted both. I thought I could protect you by keeping you separate from that part of my life. I thought if you didn't know, you'd be safe. We sat in silence for a moment. Outside the window, Chicago was starting to wake up. The sky was turning pink with dawn. The operation ends next week? I asked finally. Sarah nodded. Next Friday. We're going to arrest 17 people involved in the money laundering ring. It's taken 3 years to build this case. Once it's over, I'll be done with undercover work. I can go back to being a regular agent with a desk job. No more lies. No more secrets. And then what? I asked. We just pretend the last 3 years didn't happen? Go back to being a normal married couple. I don't know, Sarah admitted, wiping her eyes. I want to try. I want to fix this. But I understand if you can't forgive me. I understand if you want to leave. The words hung in the air between us. Leave. Divorce. The end of our marriage. Could I do that? Could I walk away from 6 years together? From the woman I loved? Even after all these lies? I stood up and walked to the window. The sun was rising over Chicago, painting the buildings gold and orange. People were already on the streets below, joggers, early morning commuters, a world of strangers living their own complicated lives. Tell me something true, I said without turning around. Right now. Tell me one completely true thing about us. Sarah's voice was soft behind me. I love you more than anything in this world. That was true the day I met you, and it's true right now. My job was a lie. My cover story was a lie. But my love for you? That was always real. I turned to face her. She looked so small and vulnerable sitting in that chair, her face pale and tired, her hands twisted together in her lap. When you said you wanted to grow old with me, I continued. When you promised to be honest and faithful, when you said, I do at our wedding, were those lies too? No, Sarah said, standing up now. David, no. Those vows were real. I meant every word. I am faithful to you. I've never cheated, never even looked at another man. Jason is just my partner. He has a girlfriend he loves. Everything about our relationship, our marriage, our love, that's all real. The only lie was about where I go during the day. That's a pretty big lie, I said. I know, Sarah whispered. I know it is. And I'm so sorry. I'm sorry I couldn't tell you. I'm sorry I made you feel crazy and paranoid. I'm sorry I let you think I was having an affair. I'm sorry for all of it. Tears were streaming down her face now. My own eyes were burning with tears I was trying to hold back. The woman I married wouldn't lie to me, I said, my voice breaking. The woman you married was trying to protect you, Sarah replied. She was trying to make the world a little safer while also loving you with everything she had. She made mistakes, huge mistakes, but she never stopped loving you. Not for 1 second. I looked at her, really looked at her. This woman who had shared my bed for 6 years, who knew how I liked my coffee, who laughed at my terrible jokes, who held me when I was sick, who was also, apparently, an FBI agent who spent her days hunting criminals. She was still Sarah, still my wife, just more complicated than I'd ever imagined. I can't promise to forgive you right now, I said slowly. This is too big, too much. I need time to process everything. Sarah nodded, hope flickering in her eyes. I understand. But, I continued, I don't want to give up on us either. Not yet. Maybe we can try marriage counseling or something after your operation is over. When you can finally be completely honest with me. Really? Sarah asked, her voice filled with disbelief and hope. You're willing to try? I'm willing to try, I confirmed. I'm not saying everything will be okay. I'm not saying I'll ever fully trust you again. But I love you too much to just walk away without at least trying to fix this. Sarah rushed forward and threw her arms around me, sobbing into my chest. Thank you. Thank you. I promise I'll spend the rest of my life making this up to you. I'll be completely transparent about everything from now on. No more secrets. Ever. I held her, breathing in the familiar scent of her shampoo, feeling her heart beating against mine. One more week of lies, I said quietly. And then the truth. All of it. All of it, Sarah promised. I swear. I flew back home that Friday morning as planned, leaving Sarah to finish her conference, or whatever FBI operation she was actually doing. The flight home felt different than the flight there. I wasn't excited or nervous. I was just numb. The week that followed was strange. Sarah called me every night from Chicago, and our conversations were careful and tentative. We talked about normal things, the weather, what I'd eaten for dinner, how the garden was doing. We didn't talk about the FBI or the lies or what would happen next. On Friday evening, exactly 1 week after the confrontation in the conference room, Sarah came home. I heard her car pull into the driveway, and my heart started racing. This was it. The operation was over. Now we would have to face everything. Sarah came through the front door carrying her suitcase. She looked exhausted but also relieved. She saw me standing in the hallway and gave a small, uncertain smile. Hi, she said. Hi, I replied. The operation was successful, she said, setting down her suitcase. All 17 arrests were made. The case is closed. My undercover work is officially over. Good, I said. I'm glad you're safe. We stood there awkwardly, like strangers in our own home. David, Sarah said finally. I meant what I said in Chicago. No more secrets. No more lies. Whatever you want to know, I'll tell you. Whatever you need from me, I'll do it. I want to fix this. I want to fix us. I looked at my wife, my complicated, brave, lying, loving wife, and made a choice. Okay, I said. Let's start over. Tell me everything. The real story. From the beginning. Sarah's eyes filled with tears of relief. Okay, let me make us some coffee, and I'll tell you all of it. The whole truth. I promise. She walked past me toward the kitchen, and I followed her. As I watched her fill the coffee pot with water, just like she'd done 1,000 times before, I realized something. Our marriage wasn't over. It wasn't the same as it had been, and maybe it would never be. But it wasn't over. We had a long road ahead of us. Rebuilding trust, processing trauma, learning to be honest with each other in ways we'd never been before. It would be hard. Some days it would feel impossible. But we were going to try. And maybe, just maybe, that was enough. Sarah poured 2 cups of coffee and handed me one. Our fingers touched briefly, and she smiled. A real, genuine Sarah smile that reminded me why I'd fallen in love with her in the first place. So, she said, sitting down at the kitchen table. It all started 3.5 years ago, when the FBI approached me about going undercover. I sat down across from her, holding my coffee cup in both hands, and listened. For the first time in our marriage, Sarah told me the complete truth. And slowly, painfully, hopefully, we began the long journey of healing. Thank you so much for watching this story all the way to the end. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe to this channel to support our growth. We create stories like this every week, and your subscription means the world to us. Hit that subscribe button, drop a comment telling us what you thought of the story, and we'll see you in the next one.